What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I know the uploads have been a little delayed and the videos have kind of been not so exciting lately. I appreciate your patience and understanding. Getting this house set up has been a big chore, a little bit bigger than I expected. Plus I had family in town to help with that process. So I've been a little bit busy with other things. But today I'm happy to say that I'm back in the garage. I'll be working on the G. We're going to be doing something exterior related, not mechanical today. Just to spruce up the look of it a little bit and get rid of something that I really don't like on most cars. So luckily there's not much, but there is some chrome pieces on the car, on the G37. So we got the window pieces there. The grille is chrome as well as the fog light bezels there. And chrome's really not something I like on vehicles other than classic muscle cars. I just think, to me, it looks kind of cheesy and I'm just not an overall fan of it. So I'm gonna start the process of getting rid of all the chrome on this car. And we're gonna start with the window trim today. I'm gonna be putting some 3M gloss black vinyl to cover that chrome. So you don't need much for this process at all. Just need a heat gun or a hair dryer, some type of flexible credit card, piece of plastic, a little utility knife or X-Acto knife. And I already pre-cut the vinyl for the size that I'll need. I got the measurements online from a G35 forum, so I will post that in the description below and give credit where credit is due. So as you know, I'm more a fan of the mechanical side of things, and that's kind of where I excel when I'm working on cars. I've tried to work with tint in the past, haven't really messed with vinyl too much, but those type of materials, the tint and the vinyl, I haven't really had too much luck with in the past. So I'm gonna wing this and give it a try. Luckily, I got a 5 foot by 2 foot piece of vinyl and it was only 20 bucks. So if I mess anything up, it's not a huge deal. It's really not a huge hit financially that I'll be taking. I can just go get some more vinyl. The pieces up top here on the rear window are probably gonna be the toughest because of the curve. And maybe this one up front here, but these bottom pieces should be pretty straightforward, so that's where we're going to start. I'm going to start with this piece here, the driver front. So even though I'm a little nervous, let's get started, see how this turns out, and we'll take it from there. Also forgot to mention that it's important that you start with a clean surface, so I'm just going to go ahead and wipe down all the trim with some simple greens to make sure it's clean and dry before we start. Alright, so now everything's clean. We're going to start with this lower piece here, which should be the easiest. I'm going to start by lining it up here and cutting this on a slight angle, so that it meets up with the mirror just as best as I can. So just gonna wanna take your time, at least from what I've read, just kinda go along and tuck it, or lightly tack it down. You don't really wanna go too crazy just yet until you get it laid down. And if you mess up, you can always just pick it up a little bit before you permanently, tack it down. Now, as I'm going along, I'm just making sure that I have enough to cover the top portion. I know I have enough on the bottom according to the measurements, so just want to make sure I have enough on the top here to get it to meet up with the rubber. So now that we have this tacked down, as you can see, I'm going to work my way over the finish again. I'm going to start with the top and kind of, push it up against the rubber, and then we'll work on the bottom. So here where it comes to the edge of the end of the door, we will just take that with our heat gun and kind of just gradually fold it over on the edge, eventually once everything is tacked down. I do have a little bit too much extra to tuck, so I'm just going to lightly run the blade. Obviously, watch your paint, be very careful, just to get rid of some of this excess so it's easier to tuck under. So the bottom portion is all tucked up under the trim. It looks really good. There is a little bit of some overlay up onto the rubber. If this camera would focus, you could see it. So especially back here, there's a little bit of overlay. So I'm just gonna run my nail to kind of crease it, and then I'm gonna run the razor blade along it to get rid of that extra, and then tuck that the rest of the way in. All right, so this portion is pretty much done. Everything's tucked up away and under the trim. So I'm just gonna run the heat gun along the edges, make sure everything is pretty well sealed, as well as the back portion here. I'm going to fold that around the door edge so that's tacked down as well, and then we can move on to the other portion. So first section is done, obviously one of the easiest sections. Came out really good. There's not really too many imperfections. Now we're going to start and we're going to do this back section, pretty much the same thing. I think what I'm going to try and do is leave a little bit less under here because I had to cut off quite a bit and I don't want to scratch the paint or cut into the paint. So I'm going to try and do a 50-50 split between letting some hang over on the top and on the bottom. So for the back section, I'm actually going to start from the rearmost section. Again, cut the vinyl on an angle so that when we get to the front here, we can do the same that we did on the driver door and just cut it if we need to and then tuck it over on this edge. Now that that's down and the angle's cut, we can work our way to the front, kind of applying it pretty much the same as we did on the front side. Just slowly going along, tacking it down, and then we can work out the rest of the kinks. Alright, so here we have the front lower and rear lower portions done. It's really looking great. I'm happy with the way it's turning out. This one went much better and easier than this one. Obviously it's the second time, so it'll go a little bit easier. But I did find that lining it up closely with the bottom, just so you can tuck it under real easily, and then run the razor up top was much easier than kind of the other way around of lining it up top here and then cutting the bottom. But it's just really coming together nice. If you compare the top to the bottom, I think out of the two upper portions, this will be the easier one. So pretty much again, just following the same process, starting with the edge, working your way around. But because of this curve, I want to line it up kind of closer to the bottom, so when you have that arc, it's easier to push it out towards the outside of the curve than inside. So just go really slow and make sure you tack down little by little, and get the angle right here. And if you notice any really severe creases, just go back, pick it up, and make it so it's as nice as possible. Alright, so bottom is in under the rubber, looks really good. So now with the door open, I'm going to make a little crease here as I did before. At the top, go ahead and trim a little bit off and then tuck it the rest of the way in. And as before, just be very careful with your razor blade so that you don't cut the rubber here. Alright, the upper portion of the driver's door is done. The first curved portion came out really good, much better than I had expected. And now I feel even much more confident doing this back section, even though it's a little bit more of an aggressive curve. The cutout of vinyl I did kind of compensates for that, so should be okay, and we'll try that now and see how it goes. So just kind of eyeball it where you think it's gonna be, and then you can start by taking the backing off just a little bit at a time. And I'm personally going to start from down here and then work my way around. Also, what I realized that if you put the window down a little bit, it makes this lower trim, you're able to just pull that right away. I didn't do that on the front, so it was a little bit more difficult, but now I know for the other side, and I can pass that information on to you. So just put these windows down a little bit, and then you can, like that, you can see you can pull the over back a little bit further and get that vinyl folded up under the trim nicely. Alright, got this piece tacked down decently. A lot more wrinkles and ripples in this, which I expected, so just have to take your time and go through and straighten everything out, maybe use a little heat if needed. Now I'm going to start from the inside edge, kind of like I did with the front edge, and just work everything down, and then work towards the outside, making sure that I don't get anything creased or wrinkled. Alright, so we got this back piece, which was the hardest piece. We got it all tacked down all around. This section here, this curve here, was the hardest to get to keep straight and get it to minimize any of the wrinkling, as you can see down here. But this vinyl is very easy to work with, so just applying A little bit of heat softens it up a little bit to where you don't get the wrinkles, and then it also stretches pretty well. So just take your time, go all around, and you'll be able to get it lined up pretty good. And then here it was simple, kind of like the other piece here. So finally, last but not least, we can go around, tuck everything in, and finish this side up. All right, so this side is done. This section was definitely the most tedious and most difficult. There was a little section on the inside here. I don't know if you can tell, everything kind of looks shiny in the picture, but there's a little strip of chrome trim that I guess I trimmed it a little too short. Not too crazy. If it does bother me, obviously I can go ahead and redo it. But overall, it came out great. It looks much better than that chrome trim. It flows more with the windows. Before it was color, chrome, black windows. Now it kind of flows a little bit more. And I just kind of like the darker, sleeker look. Looks a little bit more sporty in my opinion. And I am pretty impressed with how easy the vinyl was to work with. It was my first time really working with it for this amount of time and kind of in some intricate areas. So it's definitely something I would recommend. It's my first time doing it, like I said. So if anyone else is considering doing it, I would highly recommend it. It's worth a shot. And like I said earlier in the video, if you mess up, it's only a few bucks. All right, so the driver's side is done. I have to go ahead and do the passenger side. I'm not gonna film that because it's exactly the same, but pretty much on the opposite side. Even though this is my first time doing this, hopefully I gave you enough pointers that you can go ahead and tackle this yourself. Again, it's not a big deal if you mess up, just get a little bit more vinyl. And like I said, I have a little bit extra in case I did mess up. To me, it makes a huge difference visually. I really like it. So this is the first part, like I said, of kind of getting rid of all the chrome on the car. Not a fan of chrome, so I'm really happy with how this came out. I'll do the other side, and I kind of learned some, little tricks along the way that I can apply to the other side, do a little bit better and a little bit faster. So I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, and if it's helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Like I said, I've been super busy, but back here finally with another video for the G. Not really technically an install video, but in any event, something, little modification, if you want to call it that, to the G. So definitely stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more between the G and the Z with stuff that I'll be doing over the next couple weeks. Finally settled in the house, so I do have a little bit more free time both after work and the weekend. So like I said, stay tuned for that, and we should be doing some cool stuff soon. Thanks as always for the continued support. I really appreciate it. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do so. If you have any questions at any time, just drop a comment down below. I'll be sure to answer anything you post. And if you are going to attempt this, I wish you luck. And thanks for watching again. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day, and I'll see you next time.